The Democrat side. Let's get the word from the White House. We have Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Donald Trump. One of the headlines of reaction to deal with, first off, thank you for joining us, Kellyanne, is from former Bush 41 AG, cited in the Rosenstein memo, Donald Ayer. He calls the reasoning in the memo that this is about how Comey handled the Clinton investigation a sham. What do you make of that?
That's his opinion, but the president took the advice of the Deputy Attorney General who oversees the director of the FBI, brought those concerns to the Attorney General who brought them to the president, and they made a decision to remove him. The president has made very clear he's going to act like a leader. He's going to make decisive, resolute actions when he is faced with evidence. And in this case, Jim Comey had lost the confidence of people at the FBI, people on both sides of the partisan aisle. Chris, as you know, you've had Democrats on here on your program many times calling into question the credibility of Jim Comey. You had Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi in November. Nancy Pelosi said on CNN, I don't think he's in the right job. Chuck Schumer said, I don't have complete faith and confidence in his credibility, and yet now they want him to be a martyr. This is the action that a president takes when he is told by the Deputy Attorney General, who's only been on the job for 14 days, so he took a new assessment, a new look at everything, and he has made very clear that there's low morale at the FBI, that the one thing, I mean, this is just such a stark statement. Almost everyone agrees the director made serious mistakes. It's one of the few issues that unites people of diverse perspectives at the FBI. They call into question the fact that he had a press conference, that he's supplanting his own judgment for that of the federal prosecutors and the Department of Justice itself. So there are any number of issues and events that brought the president to this decision.
Right. We will note and put to the side that nobody praised what James Comey did to Hillary Clinton during the campaign and after more than the president himself. He's likely to change his mind. That's his right. But in terms of the timing, so rushed. Kellyanne, Rosenstein on the job just 2 weeks. The memos, the letters from yesterday, all dated yesterday, reporting that the president put Jeff Sessions, who should have nothing to do with anything related to the Russian investigations, on the case to find reasons to fire Comey. All this happening just as the Russian investigation is heating up. It seems very, very connected. Your take?
There's so much conjecture there. Let me unpack them one at a time. First, you're talking about President Trump on the campaign with respect to Jim Comey. He's the president, and he is faced with new evidence about the way people at the FBI and people from both sides of the aisle and elsewhere feel about Director Comey. You have to have confidence in the impartiality and the non-politicization of the FBI, of the Bureau. And Mr. Rosenstein apparently concluded that that's not the case and put forward his recommendations to the president. You had Hillary Clinton just last week attacking Jim Comey as the reason she lost the election. We all know she lost the election because of Hillary Clinton, but we'll really put that aside. This whole idea that, especially on your network, you always want to talk about Russia, Russia, Russia. The idea that the FBI has one thing going on, and it's the Russia investigation, and the idea that this is somehow Jim Comey, attorney at law, one person in charge of it, is really irresponsible to not report to your viewers that many people are involved in all of these investigations. I'm told the acting FBI director, his wife ran for, correct, Mr. McCabe, ran, that he'll oversee this. He obviously is very familiar with the investigations that are going on there. The Bureau is a big place. Senator Susan Collins from Maine had it exactly right last night when she said the director was fired, not the entire FBI. There are many capable men and women there. Mr. McCabe's wife ran for political office as a Democrat. I mean, the idea that we don't have other respected men and women who are not seen as partisan or not seen as impaired, who are not seen as impartial, excuse me, who are not seen as partial and politicized, is just wrong. It's a huge place, and there are many people who are involved in any number of investigations. But I would also point out, as recently as yesterday, you had a prominent Democrat saying he sees no evidence of Russia, of collusion. Right. I mean, where is that in the reporting?
Wait, say that again? What happened yesterday?
You've got Democrats saying that they don't see any evidence of Russia collusion yet.
Look, I get the talking point on this, but let's be very clear.
It's not a talking point. It's a 7-month distraction.
Everybody who knows that's what you want it to be. I get that.
No,
but anybody who's been around, no. Look, what I want is the truth. That's all we should all want here. And the idea that you
Well, here's
should
the
know
truth.
the fruit of the investigation these many months in is naive and deceptive. People who have been around these investigations will tell you they take time. Those who are doing it on the Senate and House side say they take time. You've been misrepresenting the White House. What James Clapper said, when he said he had seen no collusion proof, that's accurate. But he also said it's because he didn't know anything about the investigation. Comey had been quiet about it. He wasn't privy to the record. He doesn't know the facts. See, that's very different. You don't like that part because you want, as the president says, for this to be a hoax. I get it. And that's why Comey being ousted just when that is heating up. Not back when he started his tenure. He didn't need anybody to tell him that Comey had been divisive within the agency. He knew all that.
You want me to ask the questions because you're giving all the answers.
Kellyanne, I've got to check what you're saying. I've got to provide the context for it because you're creating an image that doesn't reveal itself in fact.
Let me know when I can answer.
Knock yourself out.
Well, I'm going to knock this out of the park by telling you that I'm sure it'll go viral now that you use the words naive and deceptive. People think you use those words about me, although you were talking about a state of mind.
I'm talking about this narrative coming out of the White House.
That's the new thing to try to go viral. But here's those of us who do want the truth. Okay, the idea that you think that this was about Russia and not about an FBI director who just yesterday forced his bureau to correct sworn testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee where he said Huma Abedin had this practice. She had forwarded, quote, hundreds of thousands of emails.
So President Trump was so upset that James Comey was unfair to Huma Abedin that he fired him.
No, President Trump wants an FBI director who is impartial, who's not politicized, and who has the confidence and the trust of people in the Bureau, of Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill, of the Attorney General, of the Deputy Attorney General who oversees the FBI director, and of the President of the United States.
Why didn't he do it in January?
He had lost that. Why is the timing up to you at CNN? Why, this whole idea, because had he done it in January, you guys would have run the same chyron for 3 months, that he did it in January because he's got something to hide from FBI director. How about the fact
No, that looks more likely now. Back then, it would have been on the heels of his dissatisfaction about the Clinton situation.
The media don't like surprises. They don't like being caught flat-footed. And yet, I don't know why people are so surprised when Donald Trump, who's not part of the swamp, who's a non-politician, who's made taken decisive actions his entire life, been a disruptor his entire life, when he comes to Washington and does the same, and people express shock and awe.
No, but it's context, Kellyanne. It took 18 days to get rid of Flynn when you had Sally Yates show you proof that he could be compromised, and the president knew, but did nothing and let him go to lots of meetings that arguably you would want to sequester somebody from if those kinds of questions were raised. And this he gets done in under 2 weeks, everything dated yesterday, and a paragraph in his letter where the president, if it's true, admits that he asked the director of the FBI whether or not he was directly under investigation, and was told by the, oh yes it does, and was told by the director, no you're not.
Well, I appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation. Where is it that the president asked him that?
Well, how did he find out?
Chris, I'm not going to reveal to you conversations between the President of the United States and the Director of FBI.
It's so important because it's so wrong, Kellyanne. It is
you just
wrong.
made a statement
if that communication
false.
happened, I don't know that it's false. I don't know that the president didn't ask him.
Then you shouldn't have said it.
Well, either he asked him or he was told. Somehow it was communicated to the president.
Reporter, not an opinion journalist.
Somehow it was communicated to the president, right? How was that okay?
I'm sorry, where is this in the letter? Let me let your viewers look at it.
Look at the second paragraph. Put up the second paragraph.
Why don't I read it? While I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the judgment of the Department of Justice that you are no longer able to effectively lead the Bureau. Where does this say that the President asked FBI Director Comey?
It does not say that he expressly asked him. I'm asking you, how can it be possible that the President of the United States would allow communications between him and the FBI director about whether or not he's under investigation? It is unethical. It is arguably illegal for that to have happened once, let alone 3 times. And a lot of people who know James Comey can't believe it would have ever happened. How do you explain it?
Right, those same people who can't believe that he held a press conference last year and then 2 days later...
That the president applauded.
that the president, well, right, because of what he did. He went and he swore under oath. He said, no, she didn't have one device, she had 13.
Right.
And you know what? None of us want to relive the campaign.
But now he has no confidence for the same exact reason and fired him.
Talk about being caught flat-footed and surprised and embarrassed and getting a result nobody there wanted. But you know, Chris, this is very simple. This whole thing is very simple. You're trying to make it very complex. This is a president who saw that the FBI director had lost the public confidence, the confidence of Republicans and Democrats. I mean, pull up their tweets, watch their interviews on CNN. They had big problems with Comey when it was expedient for them. Now they all expressed shock and disappointment.
You accuse the Democrats of only having problems with Comey when it was expedient
for them. No, I didn't say that.
When the president has a clear record of applauding what he did with respect to Hillary Clinton, and only
Chris,
now with his
Are you going back to the campaign again?
With his Twitter feed. Well,
can you please explain when he did that?
He did it just, he talked about just last week. His Twitter
now
feed
he's not a candidate, he's the
with problems with the Russia investigation. The reporting is that he wants the investigation to be about leaks, and there was pushback from Comey that it's not about leaks, and now he's out of a job.
No, you're connecting things that aren't provable, and you're connecting things that have been reported in one or two places that haven't been verified, because that's what you guys do. But look, this is very simple. Let's just draw it out.
You know that that's unfair, but please continue.
The FBI director reports to the Deputy Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General was confirmed 14 days ago, 94-6 by the United States Senate.
Right.
I would say that's a pretty good indication that
Rosenstein had respect and credibility.
Mr. Rosenstein served under President Obama as the U.S. Attorney in Maryland. This man has been in this particular line of work for decades. Everybody respects him as far as I can see. He wrote what I consider to be the most robust, chock-full 2 pages in a very long time on this subject. He listed out line by line, paragraph by paragraph, the growing erosion of trust in this man as the director of FBI. Since you're going back to the campaign, which I'm happy to go down memory lane anytime. I thought it was remarkable, and we try to tell you guys every day, no, Texas is not turning blue. We're going to win. Nobody listens.
Continue.
But I hope you listen to this. He's now the president. And as president, with a new attorney general, and most importantly, the new deputy attorney general who oversees the director of the FBI, he came to the conclusion that this man, quote, had impaired the FBI's reputation and credibility, that he should not hold a press conference, that he was doing things that are textbook examples of what federal prosecutors, quote, should never do. It goes on and on.
Who told Rosenstein to do the report?
Rosenstein is the Deputy Attorney General of the United States.
Who told him to do the report?
He oversees the FBI. You can ask him. I assume that he put together the report on his own.
He wasn't urged by the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions,
well, now you're insulting him too. Now
I'm not insulting him. I'm asking you a question. Who asked him? Look,
but Rod
making it personal only reveals weakness in a position. Okay? It's a basic rule of arguing.
We feel very emboldened today.
I'm not making it personal. I'm saying who asked him to do the report?
Resolute person.
Who asked him to do the report?
You'd have to ask Rod Rosenstein that question. But one presumes that he wrote the report on his own. He's fully capable of writing a report. Isn't he, Chris? This guy who was just confirmed 94-6 by a full body of the United States Senate, this man who served under President Obama, the U.S. Attorney in Maryland, this man who's been in this line of work for decades.
I know, he's got a good reputation. So he comes into office, he knows the Inspector General is reviewing the exact same thing. Yeah, we have it here.
The report is called?
We have it right here.
Restoring, quote, subject, restoring public confidence in the FBI.
Right.
That's what the report is called.
That's a great title. It will probably be the same one that the Inspector General is doing. Why wouldn't you wait to see what the Inspector General said before moving? Why so quick? You say yourself, the guy's only been on the job 2 weeks.
Well, he's
Why so quick?
capable of putting together a report. Now you're impugning his credibility.
I'm not asking questions. It's not an insult. It's an insight. Why would he do it so quickly?
No, it's not. It's an allegation.
Why? No, it's not an allegation. It took him 2 weeks. All right? Why move on it so quickly? Why do it now?
Okay, let me ask you the question. Why not? Is it too quick for
Because you're being investigated by the FBI, and that is what is in the air. That's what's getting energy, and you've let everybody know you think it's a hoax and that you don't like that it's happening. We don't know who is being looked at and who is not being looked at, except for this one paragraph of this letter that has some of the most inappropriate contact between the director of the FBI and a sitting president that we have ever heard of. That's the only indication we have that the president himself isn't somehow involved in the investigation, which may yield nothing, by the way, down the road. It should be able to play out without interference, but we don't know. All we know,
so
that's the answer. Your answer to why not is because you're under investigation. That's why not.
No, I'm not under investigation. I don't know who the you is.
The staff, the campaign is under investigation.
Who? Name them, because your network keeps referring to them as a
Comey has referred to the campaign.
Advisor.
He had tried to keep it quiet. We know obviously Flynn is in there. We know Carter Page is in there. We know that there's been the subject of different meetings with different administration officials.
You recognize the FBI is a big place, right? And the acting FBI director, Mr. McCabe, one assumes would have dominion over this investigation now. This investigation has gone nowhere, as you know.
We do not know that it has gone nowhere. That's not what James Comey said on the Hill last week.
Right. Well, yesterday they had to correct his sworn testimony. He gave a complete lie, I suppose, about Huma Abedin's email. Hundreds of thousands of them, many times, classified information. Turns out that there were 2 instances.
You got it wrong.
Well then, and that's the person that you wanted to continue to lead the FBI, right, Chris? Because the constant...
I'm not saying whether he should. Look, you can think that Comey wasn't doing the right job. It still calls into question how this was done. You can believe both things at once, that, hey, you know what, he wasn't getting it done. He had chosen politics over policy. You could level that criticism, but it still raises questions about the timing.
I just need to show respect that's not being shown in most places today to the Deputy Attorney General, who is beyond reproach, is seen as a nonpartisan figure, who was confirmed 94-6, which is no small feat, 2 short weeks ago. I'm going to show him the deference and respect. I commend to people to not listen to a bunch of sound bites today, to actually read the 2-page report if they're interested in knowing what led the Deputy Attorney General to this conclusion, to write a report called, quote, Restoring Public Confidence in the FBI. He handed that to his boss, the Attorney General, who referred it to the President of the United States, who took action immediately and fired Director Comey.
And that's but why take the action immediately? You don't have anybody lined up to replace him. You have an Inspector General's report that are coming out.
You don't know that.
That's the reporting, is that you have McCabe in there right now. The president has met with him, but the reporting is that you don't have anybody.
Why wouldn't that make the critics happy? His wife ran for political office as a Democrat.
I don't care what his wife does. You know that. Look, I'm telling you, when you make it personal, it does not strengthen your position.
It's not personal. It's showing that
when are you going to announce the new director if you have somebody lined up?
That's up to the President of the United States.
But does he have somebody?
Chris, I'm not going to answer that question because the President of the United States confers with his team on any number of personnel decisions, and it's up to him to have the timing. You know, you want to question the timing of when he fires, when he hires. It's inappropriate. He'll do it when he wants to, just like he fired FBI Director Comey when he was faced with evidence of that was unignorable now. I mean, read this report.
I've read it. It's 2 pages, Kellyanne. It doesn't take that long. And it mostly says people in there didn't like him.
You don't want to quote from it. No, you don't want to quote from it. I don't even see the word Russia anywhere. I'm looking for it.
Oh, I'm sure it's not in there. I'm sure it isn't.
Now you're criticizing Rod Rosenstein. Could it be that the reason that Rod Rosenstein wrote the report had nothing to do with that? It has to do with, quote, I cannot defend the director's handling of the conclusion of the investigation.
That is his conclusion. People can read it for himself, and his name is Rosenstein, by the way.
Well, that's great, Rosenstein. Well, I meant him no disrespect in mispronouncing his name. I think that you meant him some disrespect in impugning his credibility.
Look, these are questions, Kellyanne, and they have to be asked.
This is simple. We could just do a flow chart.
The administration of justice matters.
The director of the FBI answers to the Deputy Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General got in there. He did his own independent analysis. He came to these conclusions. He's written them for everyone to see, gave his recommendations to the Attorney General, who gave the recommendations to the President of the United States, who took decisive action. This one's an easy one.
Okay. Kellyanne Conway, it's not always easy, but it is always of great benefit to have you on making the case from the White House perspective. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.